Awesome. So thank you all so much for joining in with me tonight. I know I just put it up yesterday, so it was kind of quick turnaround time, but I'm excited you're all here. And like I said, this is my first webinar, so bear with me. Hopefully Zoom cooperates. Usually Zoom and I are cool, but you never know. So I will kick this right off. I've got a presentation that I will share with you. And then I'll check back on that chat from time to time, like I said, and make sure nobody has any questions. But otherwise, I will just get started here. So this is the 1-year career, Make Big Moves with Small Steps webinar. And I am Baily Hancock. I'm a career happiness strategist, among a few other things, but that is my primary gig, at least as this course is concerned. That's me, looking all, profesh with the blazer there. So essentially, who am I and why did I create this course, this webinar, these workshops, all of the above? I, like probably many of you, graduated college right at the height of the Great Recession. I'm an '07, class of '07 college graduate. And so by the time I got out of college, nothing was as it was supposed to be, like it was when I went into school. And what I mean by that is that the workforce had kind of completely switched around with the fall of the economy and all of that. Like things just weren't the way that they had always been. And so I entered the workforce and pretty much never knew job stability. I never really knew what it was like to have a traditional career path where, most people before my time would get out of college, they'd pick a career path and they'd pretty much stick with it for like 40 plus years until they retired with probably a pension and a gold watch. At least I hear rumors of these things, with all the healthcare and benefits and, the ability to buy a house at like 25, all the things that are just fairy tales at this point. And so I graduated and immediately realized like, oh, okay, things are not like I thought they were going to be. So I had to kind of learn to be adaptable and flexible and figure things out as I went. Now, that's been a little over 10 years ago, and I've had a ton of different jobs ever since. I call myself a career experimenter. It just sounds a lot nicer than a job hopper. But my job hopping was never chaotic, and it was never haphazard, and it was never without strategy. But from the outside looking in, it definitely looked a little bit crazy. And I'm sure my mom definitely thinks that I'm a complete nut job. And, I think she's starting to finally understand now, but I think most of my 20s, she was probably like, who the hell are you and what are you doing with your life? Shout out to all the moms out there worrying about all of us all the time. But essentially, I tried a bunch of different industries. I tried a bunch of different roles. I was in events originally. I got into education. I worked at startups in advertising. I've had a few jaunts off on my own as an entrepreneur, which is what I currently am. I got an MBA and then immediately moved from Florida to California to be a TV show host, which lasted about 5 seconds until I realized, wait, I don't want to do this at all. This is a terrible plan. And so I've tried a lot of different stuff. And I don't regret any of it, but I will definitely say during that phase, which lasted around 8 years, it was absolutely frustrating because I knew that I had more to offer than what I was currently giving to the world. I knew that I was more than just, waiting tables. I knew that I was more than just a waitress. I knew that I was more than just whatever it was that I was doing currently. And to the outside world looking in, I wasn't. And so I kind of went through a phase where I was really down and I had to kind of pull myself up. And at this point, I was waiting tables for a couple of years with an MBA in a city that felt like it didn't want me here. And I realized one day that nobody was going to make my career something that I wanted except for me. And nobody was going to give me a chance if I wasn't even giving myself a chance and believing in myself. So what I did was I started putting one foot in front of the other. I figured out, okay, what's my next move? I realized that I was getting really wrapped up in this whole grand career scheme, which I think we all tend to do. A lot of us think we need to figure out our entire lives, our entire careers, which is a really ridiculous thing to try and figure out. There's just simply no way that any one of us could guess all the things that were going to happen to us in our lifetimes to be able to pick a career that was going to serve us for our entire life. So I realized, okay, fine. I don't need to figure out my whole life. I just need to figure out the next move. And I knew that I needed to get out of waiting tables because it was slowly but surely crumbling my self-esteem. And I wasn't making hardly any money. And living in LA is not cheap. So I decided I was going to go back. I was going to get a day job. But I wanted to do something that I felt like mattered. And so I ended up getting a job at this education startup that did after school programs for little kids, teaching them about business, which was adorable. And some of my best little memories of like these 8-year-olds learning about the stock market come from that job. The only problem was it paid me basically nothing. So that's okay though. That was part of the journey. And I knew that. I was like, you know what? It's one step. It's one step. It's one step. And around the same time, I also joined a community group called the Santa Monica Junior Chamber of Commerce, or the JCs. I knew also that other than just getting this experience, I needed to meet people who didn't just see me as a waitress. I needed to meet people who I could present a whole new version of myself to that was whatever I wanted it to be. So that's what I did. I joined the JCs. I ended up getting, I think I had maybe 5 different board member roles there by the time I retired last year as president. But the first role that I had was as membership vice president. And what that allowed me to do was be the girl that was meeting everybody at these mixers and at meetings. I was the one shaking new people's hands, convincing them to join. So it really helped me establish myself in the Los Angeles community and meet so many people that I could then turn around and let these people know, hey, by the way, I'm looking for a new job. This is what I'd like to have. This is my background. This is my education. So by connecting with all of these new humans, I was able to start moving in that direction. And so between those two main things, I started realizing, hey, wait, I forgot. I am more than just a waitress. I have all of these things that I can provide to a company. I have a lot of education that I'm not putting to use at all. But it took me really pulling myself up and thinking, you know what, you're never going to go anywhere if you just stay where you are today. So all that is to say, that was now about 4 years ago. And 4 years later, I'm in a completely different place in my career, leaps and bounds from where I was just 4 years ago. And the 1-year career is one of the products that I've created that grew out of my own need for needing a plan to actually going from where I was to where I wanted to be. The first course that I came out with last year, actually 2 years ago now, is called the Career Experiment, which, as you can imagine, based on what I just told you about my own career path, came from me just needing a little bit more of a strategy around how I was treating my career. So instead of just bouncing from one job to the next, I wanted to have a plan. I wanted to have structure to it. So the Career Experiment was all about figuring out your next best move. What I realized after teaching that probably over 100 times to thousands of people was people needed the next step. So sure, they could figure out what they wanted their next career move to be, which is arguably the hardest part. So if you're in that place and you're like, I don't even know what my next career move should be, we're going to cover that a little bit today. But what I realized was after people figured out that next move, they didn't know what to do after that. So they were paralyzed with indecision, with paralysis by analysis, just feeling like, oh God, there's too many things to do. I don't even know where to begin. So that's where the 1-year career came from. And it's the 1-year career, make big moves with small steps, because that's exactly what it is. It's taking a big move that you know you want to make and breaking it up into a ton of teeny tiny little pieces so that you can put one foot in front of the other day after day and actually get there eventually. So that's a little bit about me and how I ended up where I am today. And this is kind of my life motto. If people were happier in their careers, this world would be a much happier place. So it's my personal mission in life to help people love their jobs. We spend so much time at work with our coworkers at our desks that if you're not in love with it, or at least you don't hate it, that's a miserable way to spend 40 plus years of your life. And frankly, I don't think that's a good way to go about life at all. So why does everyone feel so lost? I mean, I feel like most people I know tell me on a daily basis, I just feel so lost and confused. I don't know what to do. I thought I did, but now here I am. This seems to come up a lot around like 23 to 26 or 27, where people are out of college. They think that they've like done the hard part. They've like picked a major and graduated and gotten that first job. Now it's time to just coast. And the sad reality is, oh no, my friend, it is just beginning. And so a lot of people hit that dip after about 1 to 2 years of working where they're like, wait, this isn't what I want to do forever. Crap, now what? I've already wasted so much time going down this career path and I've spent so much money in school and yada, yada, yada. It's too late to change now, which is crazy. But I digress. So a lot of us feel very lost. So it's perfectly normal. If you're feeling that way, know that there's a lot of commiseration here. But one of the big reasons is we now live in an evolved workplace. And this kind of touches on what I said about after the Great Recession, how everything kind of changed. So the way that people used to move through their careers doesn't really work anymore. You no longer just get to pick a path and then go through that for 40 plus years, retiring with a pension. It just doesn't happen. I hope Social Security is around by the time I retire. I hope I get to retire. Like, there's part of me that doesn't think any of us are going to get to ever retire. And, maybe there's something to be said for how millennials tend to treat their lives as, ongoing retirement anyway. And maybe we don't need retirement as much, but it'd be really cool to have like a beach house somewhere and just drink Mai Tais all the time. Anyway, so this evolved workplace is just a completely different landscape than what we all thought we were getting into when we were growing up. It's totally different than our parents knew, and it's super different than our grandparents knew. So there's a lot of confusion on how to deal with that. Things don't work the way that they used to. You no longer can just put your head down, work really hard, get a promotion every 2 years like clockwork, clock in and clock out at the exact same times every single day and expect to succeed. Unfortunately, it just isn't that way anymore. Now, the people that are successful are the ones that are constantly re-upping their skill sets. They're constantly meeting and engaging with new people, and they're constantly reevaluating their happiness and going after the things that they know are going to make them happy. And I know it sounds like a lot of work, but I think it's worth it. We're currently writing the rule book in real time. You see this a lot with startups. Startups are just making the rules up as they go, and that's why so many people are attracted to working for them, because it feels like you're kind of part of this process. You're part of the evolution of the workplace. And you see a lot of these traditional companies starting to look to startups to think, okay, well, if it's working for them, can it work for me? A lot of these, millennials are wanting to go work at startups instead of working for, a big traditional company, say like Coca-Cola or something. What am I missing? And I think it's because these startups are super nimble and we're making up the rules as we go, which is both really exciting and really freaking terrifying. A lot of us are multi-passionates. And if you've never heard of the word multi-passionate, essentially it means you have a lot of different interests and skills and a lot of curiosities that you're looking to follow in life. Multi-passionates are wonderful people. They make great employees because they like to wear a lot of hats. However, it can also lead to a lot of discomfort in the workplace, because when you want to do a lot of different things, it can be really tricky to figure out whether what you're doing today is a good enough path. You can't help but have the grass is always greener mentality when you're multi-passionate, because you're thinking, well, sure, I don't mind my job, but like I also want to be these 50 other jobs. Should I go ahead and switch now? So it can be a little hard to basically pick your path. And millennials want different things. The millennial mindset is one that a lot of people really want to have value alignment with their company. They want to feel like what they do matters. They want freedom and flexibility of their schedule and where they work. And this millennial mindset is not unique to just millennials. It's now spreading to other people in the workforce. So Gen Xers, baby boomers, they're starting to see these millennial employees loving what they do because they're really demanding these flexible schedules, and they're demanding that the company has higher standards for themselves and value alignment. And these older generations are like, wait, I want in on that. And that's a great thing. But it still causes some discomfort for the companies as well and employees, because you might want something, doesn't mean you're going to get it right off the bat. So there's a lot of reasons to feel a little bit lost. So don't feel bad if you do. So how do we deal? For me, the way that I've dealt with all of this is by creating the one-year career. So what is it? The one-year career asks that you think of your career in one-year increments, because when you think about any longer of a time, it just gets a little overwhelming. Plus, it's really hard to predict what the hell is going to happen in this world and in our personal lives and in our country in more than about a year. I mean, 6 months feels like way too far out to predict anything at this rate. So a year is a good enough time that you can project what you'd like to happen and then have enough time to actually pull that off for the most part. It requires that you evaluate your professional happiness way more frequently than the generations before us had to. And this, again, is a good thing. It just means you're having to put in a little bit extra work to make sure that you're still on a path that's going to make you happy for years to come. It asks that you set short-term goals and create a path to accomplishing them time and time again. The one-year career is really all about these big moves, but guess what? Big moves don't happen without all the tiny steps in between. So if you're not able to set these short-term goals and actually work towards them every single day, week, month, and year, the big move's never going to happen. And most importantly, I would argue, it helps you get the people around you on board because professional development is not a solo sport. Without the people in your community and in your network supporting you along the way, getting you intros, getting you indoors for interviews, writing you recommendations, telling you about jobs, sending you clients, it's so much harder to go through your career alone. And I would almost argue impossible. So understanding how to effectively get the people on board and get them on your team as it relates to your one-year career plan is a huge element of that. What you do does not define who you are. What you do defines why you are. And I ask each of you to figure out why you are. And I know that feels like a big question, but the sooner you start thinking about it, the sooner you might stumble across it. I think a lot of us really define our lives and our egos and our self-worth by our jobs. And I don't think that's quite it, right? Like your job doesn't define who you are. Like you are who you are, regardless of what you do for work. But what you do for work is what you do, right? We spend 40 plus years working 40 hours a week. I mean, that's a lot of time. So what you're doing day in and day out really does define why you are here. So consider that. It's kind of a big question, but it's really important. All right, so tonight's agenda, we're going to cover a couple things. First, I'm going to help you figure out how to get clear on what your next career move should be. And there's a lot of pieces to this, but I'm going to try and be super actionable tonight and give you guys a few really solid takeaways that you can end this webinar with, and hopefully tomorrow start putting one in front of the other. So we'll help you get a little bit clear on what that move should be if you're not clear already. I will teach you how to figure out all the small steps you need to make that big move, because that's, like I said, the crux of the one-year career. It's not the big move, it's all the small steps to get you there. I'll give you some tips and tricks for staying on track with your big move throughout the year, because it is one thing to make a plan and it is quite another to stick with it. Trust me, I know I have not stuck with plenty of plans in my life and it's a shame. So it's also really cool to see when you actually follow through with something amazing that you wanted to happen can actually happen. So, and I'll give you a little preview of the one-year career online course, which officially kicks off Monday. So I'll give you a little bit more on what that's going to be about. All right. So first things first, you need to get clear on what your next big move is. So ask yourself, in your perfect scenario, what are you doing in your career 1 year from today? So I really want you to think about that, because it's one thing to say, okay, well, yeah, my big move is going to be I want a new job. Okay, fine. That's cool. That's a great big move. That's a big move, but that's a good one. Instead, I think it's important to think about 1 year from today. So March, whatever the hell day it is, 27th, March 27th, 2019. What's your average work day look like? What's your average work week look like? You know, how are you spending your time? Who are you working with? What kind of projects are you working on? How are you making money? Really build it out in your mind so that you can start to see the difference between where you are today and where you want to be. Once you start to list out all the elements of your day that you're excited about in this future scenario, you can start to see the difference between all those elements that you're missing in your current career. And those end up becoming your small steps. So really give this some thought. So here are some of the things you might want to accomplish in 1 year. Maybe you want to switch industries entirely. I hear this one a lot, like, well, I would love to switch industries. I'd love to try something totally new, but I'm afraid of starting over. I will deal with that statement later, but know that I hear that a lot. It is totally possible to switch industries. Are there concessions that you usually have to make? Of course, there are for every big move, but it is doable. Maybe you want to get a promotion. Maybe you're happy at your job and you just want to move up and you want to get a better title. You want to make more money. Totally cool. Maybe you want to start a new career path entirely. So not even just switching industries, but switching roles. That's super exciting and it's absolutely doable. For people that are like, oh, I've already invested too much time in this one particular career path, to that I say, we have 40 plus years of working. Chances are, and I usually hear this from people either 30 or under, you still have at least 35 years of working ahead of you. That's a long time to stick with something because of too much time invested. I like to think of your career in 4 10-year increments. So if you think about it that way, that's 4 different career paths you could kill it in 10 years. 10 years is a super long time to be able to do anything. So if you're feeling like it's too late to start a new career path, I promise it is not. Maybe you want to launch a side gig. This is something that comes up a lot with multi-passionates. And they're like, yeah, I've always wanted to start this side project or this side hobby or put more effort into the thing that I do on nights and weekends, but I just haven't done it. It's totally fine if your big move has nothing to do with your day job and it's more so starting a side thing. I think that's great. Maybe you just want to gain new skills and you want to level up and you want to go back to school or you want to learn something new. That's awesome. And really, your big move can be whatever the hell you say it is. So if you're still having trouble kind of figuring out what that move is, think of these 3 scenarios. You can first double down. So this means you're happy in your company, maybe you even like your role, but you're not making like a gigantic career 180 at this point. So this could be going for a promotion, increasing your sales, gaining more knowledge about your job, more experience. Maybe you're gunning for a VP role at your company, but one of the prerequisites is that you just have to be in the role for like 3 to 4 years before you can be qualified. Cool. That can be your big move year after year until you get there. The important thing is you actually start chipping away at whatever that thing is day after day. So it's totally cool if you want to just stay where you are. If this is the case, think of all the things you could do to just get a little bit closer to a career that you absolutely love in your current situation. Then you can switch gears. So this implies that you're going to make a move from your current company or your current job. So this could be getting a new job, switching industries, going back to school, starting your own thing. So this is external from your current situation. So you would be changing whatever your current situation is with your big move. And finally, do nothing. It is completely acceptable if your big move is coasting. And I don't think any of you are probably in this scenario since you're doing a webinar at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night about making a big career move. But know that in the future, if you're at a place where you're like, you know what, I really like what's going on. I'm happy with my situation. I'm making good money. I like my job. I like my coworkers. I like my life. That's amazing. I think putting it on cruise control and just really enjoying where you are in life is a really important thing to be able to do in your career. Oh, I'm wondering if somebody's got a question. 1 second. Yes. Oh, 10 p.m. East Coast. You're totally right. I forgot about my East Coasters. Sorry. Okay, going back. All right. Oh, sorry, technical difficulties. Okay. So yeah, it is totally acceptable if your big move is coasting and enjoying the ride. I liken this to running a marathon and then getting to the finish line and, wanting to actually hang out and drink a beer and like rest your legs. Totally acceptable. You've just done a really important good thing. You should enjoy the process. So this is a phase that you're more than welcome to be in. Okay, so that was the figure out your move. And like I said, there's so much more that goes into that piece. But for the sake of time and our East Coasters who need to get to bed very soon, we're going to glaze past that for now. So the next step, figure out all the steps you need to take to make your big move. So one of the best ways that you can do this is by creating your Learn, Connect, Do list or LCD list. I've never called it that. I don't know why I said that. So this includes the things that you need to learn, the people you need to connect with, and the experiences you must gain to be able to make this big move. And I'll explain each one a little bit more. So learn. This means, do you need to go back to school? Do you need a degree? Do you need a certificate? Do you need to take a webinar, an online course, a night course, part-time course, whatever it is? If what your big move is requires you to have more education, this would go down on that list. Do you need to sharpen or gain new skills? Maybe you're trying to get that promotion at work, but one of the big factors of that promotion is that you need to be really good at Google AdWords. I don't know. I'm really bad at Google AdWords. I actually have no idea how to do them, but I know that it's something I should learn eventually. If I were trying to get into digital marketing, I would put that on my learn list because clearly you can't get a job as a digital marketer unless you know Google AdWords. So a tip for figuring out all the things you should learn is if you're looking to apply for a new job, go ahead and look at that job posting and see all of the things that you're missing that they say are required for education and skills. So if it lists must be, apt in blah, 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 blah. Microsoft Office. Is anybody not efficient efficient in Microsoft Office? Because I feel like people still put that on their resume and that really makes me laugh. But yeah, so if you're having a hard time figuring out the things you would need to learn to be ready to take this job, go look at a job posting. If it's an internal move, ask your boss, ask whoever's doing the hiring, go to HR and say like, what am I missing education-wise to be qualified to take this role? And, if you're looking to go out on your own, there's a shit ton of stuff that you need to learn. Let me just tell you as an entrepreneur. But there's a great, you can totally find out like if you are going into consulting and you're like, well, I'm going to have to do all my own marketing. I'm going to have to do all my own finance. I'm going to have to do my own everything. Figure out the things that are most crucial for you to learn first before you can actually start your side gig, and do that first. Connect. So this one's all about figuring out who in your network you need to connect with, who can support you along the way in your one-year career plan. So who in your network is going to be able to support you? And this could be for getting you informational interviews, recommendations for a job, mentors who can provide feedback. And really, the connect list can be anybody in your network. So former colleagues, bosses, classmates, friends, family, anybody that's down to have your back and support you along the way. I want to talk about informational interviews for a second because they are super important for learning more about a thing before you go after it. So if you're looking to switch industries and you know very little about that industry, the best thing you can do for yourself is ask people in the industry, either currently or past, for like a 20-minute informational interview. And it can be on the phone or in person if they're willing. Always ask for like 15, 20 minutes of somebody's time on the phone first. And if they volunteer to meet with you in person, go for it. But be mindful of their time and of their knowledge. The best way to go about this, honestly, stroke their ego a bit, let them know that you admire their career path and you're thinking of going into a similar career trajectory. Would they be willing to share some of their insight into how they did it? And most people will say yes, because most people want to help people, believe it or not. So informational interviews are fantastic for figuring out what you actually want to do before you do it. Because you might get in there and realize, oh yeah, I actually don't want to do this at all. This is not what I thought it was going to be. I'm super glad I talked to this person. They gave me a heads up. And don't just talk to one person. Talk to as many people as you can, because of course you want a bunch of different opinions and you want to make sure that somebody just didn't have a bad experience and sour themselves on it. Recommendations for a job, it's something crazy like 40% of new hires are based on a job referral from somebody inside the company. 2% of people who apply for a job on average get an interview. And that number increases significantly if you've got somebody on the inside or somebody who can vouch for you to be able to say, you should at least have this girl or this guy in for an interview. I'm vouching for them. So recommendations and referrals are pretty much how you get jobs anymore. I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard of the hidden job market, but essentially it means that the majority of jobs that are out there, you never even hear about, because by the time they're posted, if they're posted on a job board, they're probably already full and they're just legally having to post it. So getting in with your network and letting people know what you're looking for is the best way to find a job. I just found my friend an incredible job that I cannot wait for her to start, because it is so perfect for her. And I found out about it from a friend of mine who posted in a group on Facebook the job description. The girl that posted it for her doesn't even work there. So it was like third degree connected. So like, I don't know anybody at this company, but I vouched for my friend to the person that I know. And she vouched for me, vouching for my friend. And then there you go. She got the job. And so it really works, you guys. That's all I'm saying. And then do is, what do you need to do to gain the experience that you need? So this again is like, do you need to put in the time? Do you need to build your portfolio? Do you need to do pro bono work for a volunteer group? A thing that comes up a lot with people who are looking to get into something they haven't been doing yet, but they are interested in, say switch from graphic design to event management, is, well, nobody will hire me because I don't have experience. And you need 2 to 3 years of experience to get an entry-level job. And that feels super frustrating. And I totally have been there. So all I say to them is, you don't need permission to start doing the thing that you say you want to be doing. And of course, yeah, maybe you're not going to get paid for it initially, but again, all things that you want probably come with a sacrifice. So if you're really excited about getting into event management and you have no history in it, you can join a volunteer organization, or you can offer to plan somebody's party for free in exchange for a good testimonial from them. You don't need permission to start doing the thing that you want to do and showing that you have that experience. So keep that in mind. Yeah, that's the whole thing. If you can gain some experience and then get people to give you recommendations and add testimonials to your portfolio, to your website, or even write you a letter of recommendation, that will go so far in helping you to get into this new company. And that's something that you would want to point out on your cover letter. If you're applying for a job and your resume shows that you don't have any experience in that area, this is where in the cover letter, you're going to want to be like, listen, maybe I'm not the person you expected you were going to hire because I don't have this experience. But let me tell you, I do. I just haven't been paid for it, or something like that. I think HR people and hiring professionals like to see that somebody's put in the extra effort to go to that place that they say they want to be, instead of just shrugging their shoulders, being like, well, okay, I guess I'm just going to stay doing what I've been doing forever. So ask yourself, what are all the things you need to learn, the people with whom you should connect with, and the things you need to do to make your move? This helps you build your small steps list. So you've got your big move, you've got all of these things that you need to do, and that's really the crux of your one-year career plan. Now, like I said, there's a billion other steps in between it that I actually cover in the course, but this is the overall gist. And here's some tips and tricks for you for staying on track throughout the year. So I think it's very important for people to decide what success actually means for them. A lot of us just go we define success based on what our parents told us success was, or what we grew up thinking it was, or what we saw in movies. And in reality, that's like money, right? That's okay, well, you make a ton of money, that means you're successful. And frankly, for me, that isn't actually the barometer of success. Now, that's not to say money is not a good indication of success. Of course it is. That's awesome. It's just not the only one. So I often think to myself, well, okay, what's success really mean for me, and how far off am I from being successful, in my own opinion? And for me, success is having control over how I spend my days, working with creative, kind, fun people, and getting to create things that are of value for the world. And technically, oh, and of course, I want money too, guys. I want to be able to travel the world. Don't get me wrong. And I hate flying commercial because it's the worst. I would love to have a private jet, but that's not the end all be all. I also wouldn't get mad at it if I had that. But the first three are way more important to me. And when I look around at my current situation, I'm kind of there. I work for myself. It's super hard. Don't get me wrong, but I am in charge of how I spend my days. I surround myself with creative, amazing, kind, talented, smart, fun people because I get to collaborate with them. And I create products that I hope, and I'm pretty sure, are really helpful for people in their lives. And frankly, that's all that matters to me. And the money comes, the money goes, and that's just the way life is. But, it's really important for you to figure out what is success. So it's okay. Whatever the answer is correct because it's your decision. Get specific. So when I say this, I mean on those small steps. So that Learn, Connect, Do list, in the online course, we really, really hammer into each of those. But what I mean by get specific is if you say, I need to learn Google AdWords, then get even deeper into that and say, okay, well, what is the process for that? I need to look up courses that teach Google AdWords. I need to ask around to my network for referrals for good courses. I need to save money for the course. I need to set aside time to take the course. And then I need to actually do it. And so that's 5 additional steps underneath that one. So your small step gets even smaller. And then once you have even all of those tiny little steps, it's super important to schedule them out. So actually deciding when you're going to handle each of these things. So if you're going to research courses, maybe that's what you spend the first month of your one-year career plan doing. Maybe you're saving money for them this whole time. The next month could be asking around, or it could be signing up for the course. The next month could actually be, rearranging your schedule so that you can fit it in, and so on and so forth. So getting really specific on what exactly each of those small steps are, and then all the tiny steps below that, and then when you're going to do it is super important. The next piece of it is creating good success metrics. And what I mean by this is if your small step is learn Google AdWords, then you need a success metric that tells you whether you've completed that task sufficiently or not. So maybe there's a test that comes at the end of the course, or there's a certification. I think you can get certified in Google AdWords. I'm not sure. Clearly, I don't know because I haven't done it yet. I signed up for an online course about 6 months ago and I haven't completed it. Yeah, I know, pot, kettle, black. But so maybe your success metric is passing the final test or getting certified. And the reason you want to create that is because if you create all these small steps, you need to know whether you've actually completed them or not. So you can cross that off your list. So whatever that success metric is for that small step, make sure it's set and make sure it's known to you. And then make your roadmap. This is when you lay all of these small steps out across like a calendar, or maybe you love spreadsheets like I do, or you've got some other sort of organizational method for making sure that you've mapped out all of these small steps and your success metrics so that you can make sure throughout the year that you're actually crossing them off and you're on a good path to making that big move. Because time flies, you guys. I mean, we're already in April almost, which is bananas. And so before you know it, it'll be the end of the year. And if you haven't done anything, then you're going to feel really sad. So having that roadmap is super important. Get an accountability buddy. This one is really important because without accountability, you're just left to your own devices. And I don't know about you, but if it's up to me to do things all day, every day without anybody checking in on me, there are weeks that could go by where I'm like, what have I actually accomplished? But you know what? That doesn't happen to me anymore. And it's because I'm a part of an accountability goal group. We call ourselves the Boss Babes. And there's 4 other women besides myself. We all have our own businesses. And every week we send out our goals and we recap how the week before went to make sure that we're still on track for completing the things that we said we wanted to complete year after year. We meet twice a year and we recap the 6 months prior and we set goals for the next 6 months. And we really hold each other accountable for what we said we wanted to do. And it has changed everything for me. Seriously, it has been the best thing I've ever done for my career and my business. Pull over for gas. This means you need to be checking in with yourself and making adjustments as necessary throughout the year. So it's one thing to create a one-year career roadmap and then just put your head down and, plow forward and get everything done, mark off all those small steps. It's quite another to stop and pause and reflect from time to time. I do this every Sunday I kind of check in with myself and make sure that I'm feeling good about what I'm doing. And if I've changed trajectory at all, if I've changed directions throughout the year, I check in with myself and make sure that there's a good reason for doing that. Because sometimes you'll find this isn't the right path for me at all. I'm going to pick a new big move, or this small step that I outlined isn't really one that I actually need anymore. So you can cross it off and add a new one. So I say pull over for gas because when you're on a road trip and you pull over for gas, it's when you stretch. It's when you get snacks. It's when you pee. It's when you throw away the garbage, from the last 4 hours or whatever it was since you got gas the last time. So it's important to do that in your own life too, because it just gives you a moment to pause and reflect and make sure that you're still on a path that you want to be on. And finally, it helps to keep the end game in mind. So this happens from time to time where I'm really overwhelmed with what I'm working on and I'm feeling like, what am I even doing? Which happens. It happens to the best of us. But then in those moments, I stop and I think, okay, what is the end game here? What am I doing all of this for? And that should probably be your big move, right? It should be the thing that you're working really hard to accomplish year after year. And so if you can keep the end game in mind, it helps get you over those humps when you're just not feeling like doing it anymore, because it happens. It totally does. And that's okay. So the final, ask yourself, why shouldn't you have a career that you love? And we've all got a ton of excuses. We're not good enough. We don't deserve it. We're not smart enough. Other people deserve it more. Blah, 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 blah. I recently asked my email list, what's something that's held them back in their career from going after a career that they love? And I got so many heartfelt, heartbreaking responses. And a lot of them had to do with fear. Most of them had to do with fear. Some had to do with money. Some had to do with time. And a lot of them had to do with feeling like they just were overwhelmed with the amount of things they would need to do to change their career path. And all of those are very valid. I will not sit here and say that those are wrong. But what I will say is you can do something about all of them. For the fear pieces, I think it's interesting that people would rather do nothing than something to get somewhere that could potentially be so much better and make them so much happier. Because if you do nothing, worst case scenario is, or actually best case scenario is, you're stuck where you are today, which is whatever. If you change and you lean into that fear, best case scenario is you have a career that you absolutely love. Worst case scenario is it's exactly what it would be if you did nothing. So get rid of the fear if you can. I know it's easier said than done, but man, it's just not worth it. And as for the time and the feeling not prepared piece, truthfully, that's what the one-year career is for. So if that's your excuse, I can really help you there. Okay, so in a second, I'm going to give you a sneak peek, but I want to check in on this Q&A real quick that we got. Okay, somebody says, what if you know that your big move is to get a new job, but because you're multi-passionate, you have no idea what that new job or career should be? Informational interviews is a great idea, but again, if you're not sure where you might want to go, how do you really know, well, who to ask for interviews, what additional skills to obtain, etc.? Actually, I totally feel you. So I actually have a whole guide called What to Do When You Want to Do It All, and it's a career guide for multi-passionates. Trying to think where you can get it. Actually, I know if you text, and I'll text it in the chat. So if you text the word MP to 345-345, that will give you a free career guide in your inbox. And honestly, the answer is, I feel you because this is me. I think the best thing you can do is pick the thing that's most appealing to you at this point in time, right? Which there's a lot of ways you can do that, and the guide kind of goes over them. It involves running your different ideas through the time, money, knowledge ringer, which is a whole process, and really trying to hone in on which thing makes the most sense for you to pursue first, knowing full well that the other things don't have to go away. It just means that, perhaps they just take a back burner until you can actually, spend some time on that. And then we've got a what if you don't know what you're passionate about? So a quick way to find out what you're passionate about is go into your inbox and look at all the newsletters you subscribe to. You can see the things that you are curious about. So like I always say, if you go to trivia with a bunch of friends, is there a particular category that you're just like, yes, I got this. This is my category. Like, what do you know it all about without really having to? And honestly, and this comes from Courtney, some people aren't really passionate about any one thing in particular. Frankly, my passions have changed a lot throughout my life. Right now, I am super passionate about collaboration and career happiness. So that's what I'm focusing on in my career. But I've been passionate about other things in the past, and I fully expect to be passionate about other things after this. So it's about listening to yourself, following your curiosities, and seeing where that takes you. One of the quickest ways that you can kind of leverage your curiosities, we don't even have to call them passions because that's a lot of pressure. That implies that you wake up dreaming, you dream about it, you wake up thinking about it, you go to bed thinking about it. And I don't do that about anything, and I never have. So if you aren't passionate about anything, don't feel bad. But yeah, so one of the ways that you can do that is aligning your curiosities or the things you're interested in to an industry. So again, going back to that email example, if you dig through your inbox and you start looking at all the newsletters you subscribe to, there's probably a commonality there with topic. If you can find an industry that supports that topic, then that's a pretty good way to be able to see like, oh, okay, maybe this is something I'd be interested in being a part of day in and day out. So my whole one-year career course is actually, this is a third of it. So you'll learn a little bit more about that in 1 second. But I feel you, girl. If you're not passionate about one thing in particular, don't feel bad because most people really aren't. All right, what else do we have? Another Q&A. And then during your one-year pursuit, what do you suggest I do about money? Yeah, I've quit my job and I'm going through each day one day at a time. How do I justify a job to get the bills paid without getting distracted from my passions? Great question. So I'm a huge fan of being super realistic with yourself about your time and about how much money you need to be able to survive. Because frankly, how are you going to like love your job if you're poor and if you can't eat and if you're like, barely surviving? So I think there's no shame in having a job that pays the bills while you're pursuing this one-year career plan. It's kind of a level thing, right? It's like you're ramping up on the thing that you want to be doing and ramping down on the thing you're doing to pay the bills, but don't necessarily want to do forever. And there's going to be that transition. There always is. It's very rarely a clean break. So for me, I was waiting tables and bartending while I had that startup job teaching kids about business. Like I was working during the day at this startup, making almost no money, and then going to work at night, bartending and waiting tables because I had to pay the bills. But I knew that if I only bartended and waited tables, I was never going to get anywhere. So that was a really hard couple of years. Like I won't lie, it sucked. But today I'm nowhere near that place and I'm significantly happier. And it's because I put in the time and I put in the hard work. And I will say, like, nothing's forever, good or bad. And so keep that in mind during the hard times. I repeat that to myself a lot where I'm like, this isn't forever. It's temporary. This too shall pass. And in the good times, I think it's just as important to repeat that to yourself too, because then you really live in that moment. You're super present and you're happy. And when you're happy, that's when you make really good decisions. So I always say, when you're thinking about what your next career move should be, think about it when you're happy. It's like grocery shopping on a full versus an empty stomach. If you go grocery shopping starving, you're going to make terrible food choices because you're just going to want anything and everything that's quick and easy to grab. However, if you go grocery shopping after you've eaten, you're going to make smart decisions. And honestly, it's the same for your career. Okay, we've got some people use lynda.com to gain new skills. I noticed lately it's more for developer and graphic designers. What other sites do you recommend to gain new skills for the non-graphic designer developers? Honestly, I love online courses. I love webinars. General Assembly still has a lot of really good part-time courses that are for things that are not just graphic design and developing. They have project management and they have digital marketing and a few other things. But I think looking around, like there's a lot of great community groups that offer workshops and classes in every city for the most part that has all kinds of different skills. And so when you're thinking about a particular skill, just start Googling like workshop, webinar, online course and see what pops up. I mean, lynda.com, I agree, it's kind of gone more technical lately, but there are still a lot of other really good sites. Honestly, what I use for my online courses, I've used Teachable and I've used Kajabi. The problem with those is they're not like Lynda where there's like a course catalog of a ton of different options for people to go choose from. So unless you knew to come look for my course, you wouldn't find it. So that's why Googling it is really important because I guarantee you a lot of them will pop up. And then does the one-year career plan participants have a Facebook group or Slack group for support? I'm so glad you asked that because that is my next thing I'm going to tell you about. Okay, so let's go back to the sneak peek and you are going to hear all about it. So here is the one-year career online course. And this is just a little motto I keep in my mind all the time. When I first heard it, it blew my brain out of my skull. One day today will be 20 years ago. That's freaking crazy when you think about it. Like today is going to be 20 years ago one day. And so when you think of it that way, think about like, what will you wish you had started today? Because in 20 years, shoot, you're going to be 20 years down the road. That's amazing. All right. Here's a little, and just to give you a heads up. So instead of me telling you myself like what the one-year career is and who it's for, I have a video for you to watch. And it's my stupid face. The one-year career is for people who are ready and willing to take ownership of their career and feel fulfilled by their work. This course is for you if you feel the desire to switch career paths but are afraid to start over. You're in a career slump and don't know where to go from here. You want to do a lot of things but don't know what to do first. You don't know what your purpose is and you're not really passionate about any particular job. You don't hate. Oop. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. I was worried about that. And suddenly I just launched YouTube. All right, guys. So I'm assuming, could nobody hear that audio? Is that what I'm gathering here? It's low. Okay. Let me see if I can turn it up. Sorry about that. The one-year career is for people who are ready and willing to take ownership of their career and feel fulfilled by their work. This course is for you if you feel the desire to switch career paths but are afraid to start over. You're in a career slump and don't know where to go from here. You want to do a lot of things but don't know what to do first. You don't know what your purpose is and you're not really passionate about any particular job. You don't hate your job, but you feel like you're not growing anymore and are starting to get complacent. You're unmotivated, underappreciated, or unfulfilled at your current job. Or you're ready to set new goals for the next few years and challenge yourself to achieve more in your career. If you're in the process of building your career, looking for a change, or are ready to accelerate your professional development growth, the one-year career is for you. So you're probably wondering, okay, fine, but what am I going to get out of this course? The one-year career will help you create a professional development path that's loaded. Well, I think I messed that up. Okay, well, I think you guys get the point. Either way, oh, how do I go forward? So there's that video and a ton more on the webpage, but it looks like we had a couple more questions, so it's super low. All right, you know what? I tried, right? That's got to count for something. Oh, sorry. Okay, go back to this. Okay, so the one-year career online course. This is the difference with this course versus others that I've personally signed up for. Instead of having access to all the videos and all the activities immediately and then doing what I usually do, which is getting really excited about it and starting off and then making it through 2 modules and then getting really sick of it or just forgetting about it and meaning to come back to it and then never doing it again. We're going to do this week to week together. So it's going to be 12 weeks. We kick off this Monday. And every week you'll get that week's modules, that week's videos, and that week's activities. So you're not going to be overwhelmed with all 23 videos, which there are 7 modules, 23 videos, and 17 activities. Instead, you're going to get like 3 to 4 a week. And honestly, I've been telling people if you can set aside 1 hour a week, I prefer the same time, same day, every single week to work on this. That's probably the best case scenario for actually sticking with it the entire time. But I'm really going to walk through it with you week by week because I think mirroring a regular class is what we're all so used to. Even if we've been out of school for 10, 20 years, it's just what we're used to and it's what most of us like. And so the beauty of it being online is that you can pick whatever day and whatever time you want each week. The whole deal is you just need to dedicate that time for yourself so that you can actually accomplish it. And I always love on webinars when they're like, but wait, there's more. So with the one-year career online course, I'm throwing in a bunch of other stuff that I think will just be really helpful for you. So I mentioned the career experiment online course that I put out last year. That's all about helping you figure out your best next move. I'm throwing that in for free because I think if you can't figure out your next move, then there's no point in you doing the one-year career. And I want you to do both. So you're going to have access to that entire online course, which you'll get when you sign up. You'll also get access to all the future updates and future cohorts. So my plan right now is to launch the one-year career about every 2 to 3 months, and it'll be a different group of people each time. But by signing up, it means you can hop into any of those future cohorts because life happens, right? And if you're halfway through the 12 weeks and you realize like, I can't finish this right now, it's okay. It'll be there for you when you get back. And if you want that live component, you can hop back in for future cohorts. And because I think the accountability piece is so freaking important, I'm going to match people with an accountability buddy. That way you have somebody just to email with weekly, check in with, keep track of. It's like when you go on a field trip and you have a buddy and you're like, hey, where's your buddy? Oh crap, I left them on the roller coaster. Like it kind of is that for life, right? So if this is something you'd want, I will happily match you up with somebody. And to answer that question, yes, there will be access to a private Facebook group where only the enrolled students will be. And this is where every 4 weeks or so, I'm going to pop in for group office hours where I'll do a Facebook Live and it'll be just me there answering questions, providing feedback to you guys as you're going through the course. If you have anything that you're just stumped on, the Facebook group is there to ask each other questions and be engaged with one another and share your answers and get feedback. And then I'll be in there monitoring it and also going live every couple of weeks. So you'll have these group office hours with me. And if this is at all interesting to you, I do have a podcast called The Baily Hancock Show, which is where I have guests on who absolutely love what they do, who have made big moves in their careers, or who are career experts. And I thought it'd be really fun if after going through the one-year career course, some of you have such a fun success story that you want to be on there and be featured, because it's, good promotion for you in whatever capacity you're looking for promotion. And it's awesome for me because I get to share your story. And I am currently working on the one-year career book. So it would be awesome if, you wanted to be part of it. So there's potential for both of those things. So this is the part everybody's always freaked out about. So how much is it? So when I do this course one-on-one with individuals, it's a $2,000 package, which I get it. That is an insane amount of money to shell out. Is it worth it? Sure, of course. But does it matter if you don't have the money? No. So it would be $2,000. The Career Experiment online course currently is $99. And then I have some fun extra stuff that I haven't mentioned that I'm going to be throwing in along the way. Potential webinars with fun guests that you guys won't have to pay for, but other people will. Things like that add up to about $100. So the course is $249. However, if you enroll before Thursday night and use the code CAREER, you can get it for $199. So I think it's a super good value. I've really tried to make this really high impact, really high value for you guys. I've poured my heart and soul into it. I created it for me and then for my friends and now for you guys, who I will consider you my friends at this point. So yeah, that's the whole deal. If you have any questions about it, feel free to throw them in the comments right now. I'll go ahead and check the question piece, but you can check out the course and get the whole syllabus. I have each module up there and what all the topics are within each module. So if you're wanting to dig in a little bit more and find out exactly what topics we're going to cover, go to bailyhancock.com/1YC and just dig in. There's more videos up there because this one got cut off because I'm not great at technology tonight, apparently. But yeah, all right. So I'm going to stop sharing and check these questions. Okay. So what happens if you don't log in for a week? Do you miss out on that information? Absolutely not. So when I say that you're going to get the modules week to week, they're going to come to your email. So you're going to get an email every Monday morning with that week's links to the videos, the activities, and then I'm going to put some fun talking topics for the Facebook group so that you can have something to go into the Facebook group and chat with people about. So no, absolutely not. If you don't log in, you're cool. They will be there waiting for you. The only thing you won't see is the course or the videos that you haven't received yet in like the earlier week. So you'll just get them week to week. But once you get them, you can access them whenever. And then, is this the first cohort coming up? It is. So we're launching on Monday. It'll be the first cohort of hopefully many, and I would love to have you be part of it. And then if not, are there testimonials from students who have benefited from previous course runs? That is a very fair question. So the one-year career, this is the first cohort for the online course, but I have a ton of testimonials from the career experiment. And frankly, like the processes are mine, right? And I think for me, when I take online courses, so much of what you get out of it is what the instructor puts into it. So I think if you read through some of the testimonials from the career experiment, you'll kind of get a good idea of what people say about how my teaching style is, what my examples were like, and you'll be able to probably tell whether that's something that would be good for you or not. But yeah, I would just go check those testimonials. Actually, it's bailyhancock.com/career experiment. So there's a bunch of testimonials on there. Definitely go check those out. And then will I share tonight's presentation? Fantastic question, Liz. Yes, tomorrow you will all get an email from me with this recording, as well as the information about the discount code and all of that good stuff. So yes, you will get tonight's presentation, and all of the people that did not log in and give up their 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock slots on their Tuesday night will get it as well. But you guys heard it first. So thank you all so much for being part of this. I can't believe we're ending right at 8 o'clock. That's bananas. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys being here. And if you have any questions past this, go ahead and email me. It's baily@bailyhancock.com. And that's Baily with no E. I'll put it in the message. And you should have gotten emails from me already. You should have gotten a reminder email about this and all of that. But please ask me any questions you've got. I'm happy to answer them. I just want to help you guys love your jobs. And you want to learn more about the one-on-one? Hey girl, I will not turn you down for that. Shoot me an email. All right. If there's no other questions, then I will let you all go to bed. I got to go eat dinner. This was awesome, though. Thank you all so much. You're so welcome. Good night. All right. Bye, guys.